In Malaysia, the market cap of Sukuk bonds is several times higher than that of the Gulf nations, the GCC. Though wealth-wise, GCC is phenomenal. What makes this difference? A parallel analogy can be that of a refrigerator business. It is optional to own a refrigerator in Switzerland compared to that of California. How does this make sense? Learn more.
Hey, welcome. Today we're jumping into a fascinating puzzle from the world of Islamic finance. We're talking about sukuk. Think of them as Islamic bonds. But really, this whole story holds a lesson for a much bigger question. Why do some ideas get absolutely huge while others just don't?
So here's the puzzle. Why is the sukuk market in Malaysia just enormous, but in the Super Wealthy Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, it's so much smaller? And I mean, the difference is just staggering. What's going on here? Now, you're probably thinking the answer must be incredibly complicated, buried in deep regulations and decades of history. But it's not. The answer is actually surprisingly simple, and it all boils down to one single, powerful idea that we're about to unpack.
All right, first up, let's lay out the sukuk scale puzzle. I mean, just take a look at this. On one side, you've got Malaysia, an absolute powerhouse in the sukuk world, and on the other, the GCC. Now, both are huge players in Islamic finance, but one market has scaled in a way the other just hasn't even come close to. The big question is, why?
And the key that unlocks this whole mystery? It's one simple concept: necessity versus optionality.
To put it really simply, for one market, sukuk is a need to have. For the other, it's a nice to have. And believe me, that is not a small difference. It completely changes the entire dynamic of how the market gets built, and more importantly, how it's sustained over time.
Think of it this way. For Malaysia, using sukuk to fund infrastructure is a matter of economic survival. For the GCC, it's a tool for economic optimization. And that one little difference, it changes everything.
For Malaysia's economy to even function, let alone grow, it has to find a way to get its people savings, channel that money into productive things like roads and power plants, and then create a cycle where that growth just fuels more growth. Sukuk is the engine that makes all of this happen.
So here's the crucial point. If the sukuk market in Malaysia were to just seize up tomorrow, their entire economic growth engine would grind to a halt. It is structurally essential. Something fundamental in their economy would literally break.
Okay, now let's clip over to the GCC. The story here is completely different. The governments have these enormous cash reserves from oil and gas. If they want to build a new airport, they can just write a check. They've got massive surpluses, and they can rely on state-led development. They have other options.
And that's the key. If the sukuk market in the GCC has a slow year, what really happens? Well, not much. Growth keeps going, just funded by other means. For them, it's a useful tool, not a critical pillar of the economy. If it stalls, nothing breaks.
And you can see how this core difference creates all these downstream effects. A needed system like Malaysia's has to be funded all the time. That creates this deep pool of local buyers and a continuous stream of issuance. All of that builds a permanent institutional memory. But a nice-to-have system, it's cyclical, it's episodic. The expertise kind of has to get reset every time a new cycle begins.
To make this really intuitive, let's use a simple analogy: the power grid.
Think of Malaysia as building a national power grid from scratch. They didn't do it because it was a cool new idea. They built it because without it, the lights go out. It's an absolute necessity for modern life to even exist.
The GCC, on the other hand, well, the lights were already on, powered by their immense wealth. For them, sukuk is like installing some super high-efficiency solar panels on the roof. It's smart, it's modern, it makes the system better, but the house was never, ever in danger of going dark.
And that's really the punchline. Building a power grid and installing solar panels are both really smart moves, but only one of them is absolutely fundamentally essential. And that is the difference between Malaysia and the GCC.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's about a universal logic, the logic of scale.
This right here is the money line. It's such a powerful mental model that applies way beyond finance. Markets don't scale just because they're clever ideas. True, massive scale is driven by necessity. It's for things that, if they were to suddenly disappear, would cause a critical system to completely fail.
And that brings us right back to our story. For Malaysia, the sukuk market scales because it literally prevents the national economic machine from breaking. For the GCC, it's a great tool that improves the efficiency of a machine that already runs just fine without it.
And so that leaves us with one final question to think about. Look around you, at your industry, your job, even just your daily life. What systems, what products, what ideas have achieved massive scale? Not just because they're good, but because something important would actually break if they weren't there. The answer is often pretty surprising. Thanks for tuning in.